Welcome, everybody. It's a privilege to be here in beautiful Barcelona at another very successful, highly interactive Canalys event. What I'm going to do for you first to open the session in our presentation is give you an overview about the industry and what we've been doing as APC by Schneider Electric to kind of lead the trends moving forward into the microdatacenter portfolio. And then Gill will finish the journey and present to you some of our solutions and best-in-class applications that you can look to leverage through the channel and with your partners. So with that being said, I'm going to open up just by talking a little bit about digital traffic and where the world is going in terms of big data. We've heard some incredible statistics over the last couple days by the presenters. What I want to share with you is what we're seeing today in the industry is roughly each person by 2018 will be utilizing 1 gigabyte of technology, right? 1 gigabyte. If you put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of 10 yards of books side by side on a shelf. Or think of your favorite standard type of a film, right? A film not in HD, standard format. That is what you would get for 1 gigabyte. Now, when you take all of that together, we're looking at potentially 8.6 zettabytes of IP traffic. In a volume context, an 11-ounce cup of coffee would be the equivalent of 1 gigabyte. 1 zettabyte, you're thinking about the Great Wall of China. So we're going rapidly in that direction, and this is something we look at all the time, and we're monitoring very closely to make sure our solutions are going to meet and exceed the market demands and needs. So again, growth is driven by connected users. Today, about 40% of the world population is connected to the internet. This is growing again at a rapid pace, and most people in the world have are at least within range of 2G connectivity, right? Then you have companies like Google, some of the others that are launching internet balloons. You've got lasers. We have drone technology, satellites. These things are rapidly expanding and evolving also the way that people have access to connectivity and the internet. So these are just some statistics that we see today. Network devices, everybody's on a network device. You see it constantly everywhere you go in most parts of the world. 1.3 million video views per minute. Video viewing, which I'm going to highlight in the next slide, is something that takes up massive amounts of data, and it's ever expanding. And obviously, we do it on our smartphones, on our iPads, and then this is also an interesting statistic: 40 terabytes transmitted per flight hour, and that's only going to continue to increase with the enhancements in technology and in-flight entertainment systems, in-flight Wi-Fi. So this is something to watch very, very closely. I don't know how many of you have seen this similar statistic in the past. Just to show of hands, I just want to get an idea. This is something that's very popular, so nobody. Okay, so size video, when it came out in 2012, it's peaked now. I think that when I last checked, it's almost at 2.5 billion views. But let's look at an interesting statistic. At this time, when we put this slide together, we leveraged 1.7 billion views for the video. That's the equivalent of roughly 250,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions, 80,000 UK car years, 34 megawatts, 24/7, 365 days a year, diesel generation. And quite frankly, the most incredible statistic is that it's more than the annual electricity consumption of the Republic of Burundi in East Africa, which is well over 9 million people. This is where we're going. And that's why it's ever more important to make sure we're working across cultures, across channels, and across businesses to deliver solutions and have a full pulse on what's happening within the market today. So this is very, very standard. Cloud applications is growing, especially here in EMEA. A lot of colo providers. I was in Amsterdam last week meeting with the Dutch Data Center Commission. We see there's 28 colocation providers there. Cloud suits a lot of applications. And we look at the typical latency is around 100 milliseconds of latency. Now, 3 big applications and spaces we play in as APC by Schneider Electric. The first is the industrial Internet of Things. It's very important that we don't overlook these applications. Many large organizations in the world today are leveraging the industrial Internet of Things. One, most recently, General Electric, is really putting a lot of focus on this aspect of the business. When we look at industrial Internet of Things, you think of a 3-pronged approach in terms of manufacturing, right? Looking at designing, the overall supply chain, and then, of course, field services. So you almost want to create a digital twin, right? From the beginning phases of an asset to the end of life. So we need to make sure we're able to capture the data, take those insights, but also do something with it. Not just take the data and look at it. We've got to take it to the next level. So the industrial Internet of Things is a big one. It's something that we're monitoring very, very closely on a day-to-day basis. Internet of Things speaks for itself. Gartner said recently that next year, roughly in 2016, every minute there'll be about $2.5 million of expenditure on Internet of Things hardware. That's mind-blowing information. I heard some statistics at some of the other keynotes the other day that fall within that spectrum of different appliances and devices. But that alone is very, very powerful. And we at Schneider, so it's easy to say, yes, we're APC by Schneider Electric. We look at the IT business. But across the scope, we're very much engaged in the green grid, smart city infrastructures, potable water supplies, right? All of these things work with the Internet of Things to make sure that we're communicating that data in real time, we're capturing it, and keeping it safe. And then, of course, you've got social and internet data sources, which I'm going to highlight a little more in detail as we move throughout the presentation. But this is stuff that we all have applications for. The Canalys event today is on a social application. I've been on it nonstop. It's been a wealth of information for all of us. So today, we see that with the cloud, we can get by in certain applications at 100 milliseconds of latency. But one of the big things in transitions of the markets is many customers and key accounts are looking to have quicker and less latency. They want more reliable data. They want things moving to meet market demand today. And that's where edge comes in. All right, and edge is it's been around a little while. It's a newer trend, and we're really trying to capitalize and leverage our approach in the market when it comes to edge computing. And basically what edge does is it brings the converged solution, the IT solution, all in one, standardized, to the site, all right, where everything's happening. I'm going to show you in a second some applications where that would be most prevalent. And we can look at the divide between the cloud colo applications and what we would anticipate with an edge computing environment. So let's look at the broad aspect here. We've got cloud. You've got some standard applications. You've got mail, internet search, storage. These all require generally between 50 to 100 milliseconds of latency. You could go a little higher or lower. It depends, again, on the application. Now, when we look at edge computing, some of the best applications that fit within edge go from smart cities, medical, so imagery, hospital imagery equipment, machine to machine, as I just said, with the industrial Internet of Things. We also have gaming. And at the top there I also put, which is very interesting, Michael Lewis wrote a book focusing on high-frequency trading. We notice with financial institutions, they want to be much closer to the action. Regardless of the deal, if it's a credit default swap, an equity opportunity, we've got to make sure that you're having shorter delays at a larger level of volume that's being transmitted. And this is where we can draw that line. And a lot of people ask us, here's our solution, here's what we're doing today. We have to be ready to step in as the trusted advisor to give the right solution. So if it's and I'm going to highlight some of our high-level solutions that we have, and Gill will dive deeper into that. But it's very important to differentiate between the different cultures and classes of solutions and applications. So this is really, really important to pay attention to. One of our business mottos is business-wise, but future-driven. So one thing we do, and we really stick to this over the years, is to pay attention to the key trends and drivers of the market. Now, Steve talked yesterday that one of the key elements this year at Canalys is to focus on where we are today in the market, and that's very much what the purpose of this presentation is. But I would be doing an injustice if I didn't talk about some of the things that are coming and how our solutions could play there. So some of the big ones, augmented reality is critical. So if you're in a place, I live in France now, so I know a lot of times when I'm traveling, places might be closed. So if I want to see if I'm at a monument and I want to learn about it and I don't have access to information, I could use the GPS in my cell phone. It could give me everything I want to know about that. It puts it in real time. If you're in the street, if you're on a busy street, you want to find a location, it opens it all up. Or if you're watching your favorite sporting event, it gives you key statistics over time, and it makes your life a lot easier in terms of managing and learning about the environment that you're in. 3D printing. This is a hot topic. It's got a lot of press. We hear about it all the time in the news. 3D printing is something that it's early stages, gives you the opportunity to create many different objects, ceramics, toys, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. May even extend it to body parts and things of that nature. That's a long ways out. I'm not saying that this is at any time going to replace the standard manufacturing process. You still need economies of scale, but it's very important to know what's happening, and we need to be ready to address that as a market leader. Facial recognition technology. We had a great session yesterday talking about what our perspective is at APC by Schneider in terms of facial recognition. This goes very well with Edge because a lot of our retailers that use our on-site applications, they're looking to do facial recognition. So they want to know when you come into a store who you are, what your buying habits are, what promos they can give to you that you could leverage in the future and continue to come back and they get your business, because it's a lot easier to retain a customer than it is to get new ones, for sure. And then lastly, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, IBM's recently got their business unit focusing on cognitive behaviors, leveraging Watson. Artificial intelligence takes data to a whole new level. So you've got that insight, you're getting inputs, but also these machines now are able to take it with almost a spin like a human would, but even maybe a step further to do it even better than we could. So we're looking at all these very closely and seeing how they could apply to both our standard data center approach and the edge computing. So when you look at edge, how we are going to manage this in the future. So we're very much focused on the here and now, but this is right there with it. We're always keeping an eye on what's happening. So here's some of the different architectures that I'm going to lay out and discuss with you a little more in detail. You've got gateways or embedded devices. I'm going to show you more on the next slide, a couple of examples, but think of DVR or an iPad. You have 1 to 10 rack data centers or a micro DC, and this is where we see as really being a sweet spot for us, and then regional data centers. And obviously, we're a world leader when it comes to data center technology. From the room to the row to the rack, we have solutions for everything, and we can pull in the rest of the Schneider Electric infrastructure that gives us an additional leg up in the marketplace that we didn't have when we were operating just as APC. So after the acquisition in 2007, we really kicked into high gear there regionally in terms of deployments of data centers. And as I said, some of the local devices, I'm sure all of you have at least one or multiple. And it was amazing, even in the hotel, I saw a 4-year-old probably using an iPad better than many of us could. So it's rapidly changing. We've got to be ready to handle that. But I wanted to highlight this a little more because we do get a lot of questions about local device applications. And as many enterprises move towards a bring your own device workspace, this is going to be more prevalent, and it ties into a lot of the security and other things that we heard yesterday from Cisco and a few of the other vendors in the market. So localized data centers. I told you that this is what we see as one of our sweet spots in the business, so the 1 to 10 rack approach. When I give a presentation, I think it's really important to come away with key words and terminology. So if you could come away with these main things, limited, we want to make sure the local devices give you limited processing and storage, which is very, very important today. Immediate deployment, and of course, it's got to be suitable for the home and small office space. Home and small office space is growing as you have entrepreneurship growing. In EMEA, we see a big spike in entrepreneurship in new businesses, especially in today's economy, with more funds being available, with rates being lower. Businesses are thriving and they're growing. Spain is a great example of an economy that is definitely bouncing back, and we see solid growth here all across the board. So we're really trying to pitch our solutions in EMEA and in Europe in particular. 1 to 10 rack data centers, so significant processing and storage. We have multiple solutions, again, that we're going to look at in detail, from micro DC to also prefabricated modular data centers that help you maximize your OpEx, minimize your CapEx, and also look at reducing that your carbon footprint. Because the goal for us, again, is to make sure we're right-sizing from day one. That's really the big objective when we talk about data centers. And then, of course, that comes into the regional data center. We've got a number of options. We have our infrastructure solutions. We've got hot aisle containment, cold aisle containment, and we want to bring a solution right to the source of the heat, right to the source of the problem, and we look to build a redundant solutions. It all depends on what the customer's looking to do. And again, our goal is to be really the trusted advisor. Some of the key enterprises that we work with in all suites and all types of applications, but really that could be a great solution for edge or converged IT. You have enterprises, so banks and retail branches. I said earlier, there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions that are happening today, which means companies more than ever need to ensure that they standardize, they migrate technologies the right way. And same with banking. I talked earlier about banking needing to have access to things on site, high-level security, reducing and cutting out that latency as low as possible. manufacturing, automotive, industrial, oil and gas, mining, right? So industrial Internet of Things, real-time application monitoring of devices and infrastructure, prefabricated data centers, remote locations, ruggedized. We need to have ruggedized solutions, which we have in both sides, not only just in 20 and 40 foot and 45 foot containers, but also in standard rack applications, which Gill is going to go into a little more detail. Government and military. I'll be going in another week, my third time in 4 months, to speak in Israel. Israel is a very, very hot market for us in terms of government and military applications, in terms of security. They know what they're getting when they buy an APC by Schneider Electric solution. It's state of the art. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of a premium, but we've been able to build that up over time, and we continue to make our solutions better. And lastly, of course, co-locations and telcos. So working across the sector, partnering with telecommunication companies, and being very supportive of our co-location partners in the market to make sure that they know what we're doing, they have access to our latest products and services, and we need to continue to make those partners and partnerships and relationships strong as we develop and move forward into the business. Some examples. These are some good global examples that we currently work with quite actively, and we've done so over numerous years. The Home Depot, CVS, so CVS, pharmacy, retail, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, so financial services. This is just showing that if you've got major companies, big stakeholders behind you, you're obviously doing something right. And we want to continue to grow this. And the way to do it is through you guys, through our channel, through our distributors, continuing to work together, making sure we give you all of the tools and resources to build a solution. And we have plenty of those on our websites, on our sales tool portal, and also with our personnel that many of you have had the chance to meet and might even be accompanied by at this very moment. So what are customers trying to achieve, right? When we think about putting our solutions, what's the end objective? So increasing consistency, reliability, and ease of use. It's got to be easy to use, right? With all this complicated stuff, we've got to give you something that makes sense and it's easy. And that's where we're trying to form really strategic partnerships and relationships across the industry to make sure we come to the table with one standardized solution. We want to reduce one-time engineering. We want to reduce unique trainings and the deployment time. We want to be able to scale, we want to be able to standardize, and we want to be flexible. These are three things, key buzzwords in the industry, but we stand behind them, and it's evident in all of the products and services that we offer. And lastly, minimize on-site work and testing, programming, and last but surely not least, should probably be the first thing, human error. That's the biggest issue today of downtime and issues in a data center environment, human error. And I always, when I'm giving a presentation, try to hit on the lights out data center. We're trying to build data centers today and solutions today so that your personnel does not need to go in there, or we minimize it. Everything is managed. We've got an infrastructure DCIM solution to tell you in real time what's happening. So you need to know that, and it's key because downtime doesn't matter in what aspect, whether you're migrating software, hardware, downtime can kill your business very fast. So we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so those are some of the key things that we're delivering. And what you've said, your messaging, it's been heard loud and clear by us, and we continue to deliver on that. So now as we get into really starting to talk more about micro data centers, and as we get closer to our solutions presentation, what is it? What's our definition, right? As an industry leader, what is it for us? So a micro data center, it's a self-contained environment solution. You've got networking, right? You've got switching, storage, processing, which we take from and leverage with our leading partners all over the world and alliances. And then we provide, as I like to say, the life support. We're the life support layer that goes around all of this, that wraps it. We have the racks. We've got the UPSs. We've got the security, our NetBot solutions, right? Real-time management. And then we've got DCIM, Data Center Infrastructure Management, our software. And that's what is unique about us. And we're one of the few companies in the world that can do all of that. And that's why we were able to work with some of the biggest names. And we continue to grow those relationships. So that is what it means to us. And then these are assembled and tested in a factory environment. And we leverage, of course, vendors, value-added distributors, value-added resellers. Many of you in this room and at this event, we count on you in a big way to deliver the solutions moving forward. I like to put this on here just as a glimpse or a snippet to help to inspire you and encourage you to use some of our data center tools and information that's out there. We've got so many cost calculators and comparisons. And I'm a firm believer that as in the field, if we're speaking with a customer and we don't at least show them the different options we can provide, we're not doing our job. If we don't come to the table and say, yeah, here's what a data center would be, or here's what it might cost for you to build a new data center, here's the cost potentially for a prefabricated data center, and then here's what it might look like for regional micro data centers. We need to be able to show that to them, show them what the savings are. Because even at a high level, they just want to see sometimes cost, and then we break it down in terms of technology, and we can have those discussions. But it really depends on who you're meeting with and who you're speaking to. And this is a great example of a regional data center in terms of 1 megawatt, tier 1, what your cost would be per watt versus a micro data center. So very high level, very basic, but you can make it as complex or simplistic as you like. We have all those tools available for you today. And I encourage you to leverage that at every advantage. And we have a great team. One of the best teams globally of people in your country, and I'm sure many of you know who to go to already to get that information. So encouraging you highly to do that, to make sure that you are constantly in the loop of what we're trying to do. So for the channel, why APC? We're huge believers. We've always been channel friendly. The ecosystem is the same. Yes, the industry is constantly, it's rapidly evolving and changing, but the ecosystem, the structures have changed. Yes, we might go to the table with some different partners and distributors depending on what our offer is. Sure, we adapt to the trends in terms of the technology and the products, but the way we go to market, the way we leverage our partners, that's something we are very proud of. We've won many awards all over the world, and it's something we've leveraged within the Schneider Electric community as a best-in-class approach, and we're going to continue to do that for many years to come. A couple other things, too. Of course, at Schneider, we have deep pockets to invest. We are supportive. We're here. We've had big events in Dubai, big events in the United Kingdom, so all over EMEA and all over the world, so we're very present. And when we're present, that means we get to speak with you and meet with you and understand what the needs are. We work with Canalys and other organizations, so to make sure that our partner program continues to stay best in class, and we're very fortunate to have world-class leaders that are very experienced and driven and know exactly what it takes to make sure we stay at top of our game at all times, right? And in terms of the micro DC market, it's going to give you an offer and an opportunity to better control your channel, your business, and ultimately to integrate together to bring the right solution to the market. And just my closing 2 slides, because I really want to make sure I set a good segue into Gill's part of the presentation, which is absolutely vital. When we look at the micro data center solution, this is really key. The channel, in terms of installation, right? Self-install, we leverage system integrators, of course, which we're working and speaking to on a day-to-day basis, and then the integration in terms of installing in factory and shipping to site. Big thing at Schneider Electric today, operational technology, right? It's a buzzword, it's very strong, and it's something in our new mission, our Life is On mission, we stand behind it. And the operational technology of reading hardware and software in real time, communicating the right insights, is going to help drive us into the next generation, and that is why micro DC and Converged is so critical to our product portfolio today, and why we want to share that message with you here at Canalys to be one of the first ones to bring that and disseminate that information onto the market. And in closing, I'm just going to present with you with a couple of analysts that we work with very closely. So Gartner says that localized or micro data centers are a fact of life. So it's coming. It's here. And we're creating micro data centers. It's something that companies have done for years, but often in an ad hoc manner. And that's a powerful statement, because it's true, and now we're taking it to the next level. And lastly, micro data centers, and this is a key word, is cloudlets. So it's been coined as the word cloudlets, which I think is very appropriate given the industry trends today with cloud and co-location environments. Cloudlets, so also known by the adorable name cloudlets, performance and usefulness of mobile and other network devices via the cloud. So taking into mind what the industry experts are saying, what we're continuing to do at Schneider Electric, I'm now going to open the floor to Gill Cheesewright to present more in depth what the solution offering is and how we can best leverage you and ultimately make more money as a team. So Gill, please. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay. Yes, I am, obviously live on. Well, as Jason has spent the last 20 minutes explaining the concept, a little bit about what micro DC is all about, as we see it, the evolution of converged infrastructure, I want to spend a little bit more time now, maybe taking a deeper dive into what's this all about. And I appreciate that a lot of you in the room will already know, so I hope that it will prove a little refresher, but more importantly, what you can have and expect from APC Schneider Electric. So the microdata is an emerging market, guys. It's got multiple facets, multiple facilities, applications, and densities. And what we're showing here is the range of solutions from APC Schneider Electric to address that market with its wide reach and its wide diversities. So what we have is a lot of it you will recognize. We've perhaps just renamed it a little bit. So the Smart Bunker SX, many of you in the room will know that as the Net Shelter SX, perfect for IT rooms, for data centers, and you can wrap the APC by Schneider cooling solutions around it for both rack and room and in-row, as you're aware. Then we have the Net Shelter CX, or what we're now calling the Smart Bunker CX, and this is our office play. This is a data center in a box, plug and play, perfectly suited for an office environment, standalone room, and remote office, branch office solutions. Absolutely ideally placed for that. And then the newest member of our range, Jason alluded to this one. This is the Smart Bunker FX, and I am going to spend a little bit more time on this one because it's our solution that we have for very harsh environments, ruggedized solution, and also for disaster recovery. So I'm just going to, a couple of slides time, spend a little more time deep diving into what that's all about. But it's made of heavy gauge steel, so it's a really robust option. And then we have the Papa Bear of the range, which is our Smart Shelter. And that is the ruggedized multi-rack solution where we can actually be the data center. And this is fantastically new option or growing options for us, where we can be the data center, where we can actually provide prefabricated solutions to you, through you, and to your customers. So this is the range of APC by Schneider Electric solutions to meet the microdata center concept and challenge that we have. Love having a case study. I know you're looking at it going, no, it's not EMEA, and I know that. But what it does show, which is why I think it's important, is a mature market and what we can do in a mature market. It's a vertical market that I'm sure many of you are already in. And it gives a real solution where the customer had previously pulled together a lot of different elements to his solution, he's maybe from different times, and it was a real mismatch and a bit of a mess. So what he needed was a really a simplified and standardized solution that he could put, as you can see, into 124 stores. So he was very keen to do that. The channel were leveraged to deliver this state-of-the-art, clean, and really elegant solution, which was then put out to all of the stores that he had. But the two key buzzwords here, Steve's opening slide yesterday was brilliant. It talked complexity. And what your customers today are needing, and I'm sure you're finding that, is two key things, simplicity and standardization. And this solution, particularly with the Net Shelter CX box, absolutely plays to that. So I said I would talk a little bit more about our newest range, the real ruggedized solution. Now, this box came as a result of a merger that we made with AST about 18 months ago. Interestingly, AST are here in Barcelona, so if any of you get really excited about what you see here, you can actually go to the factory and see it, so just let us know if you'd like to do that, because it's a really cool environment. Think of it as a safe. It's perfect for those really harsh environments, really hot environments, think sub-Sahara Africa. Freezing cold environments or really ruggedized needs, and as I said, disaster recovery. And it comes with all of these elements inbuilt. So it has built-in cooling, that's right-size cooling for it. It has built-in fire suppression, which I don't know if there's any reseller here from Africa, but fire suppression is a really important element when they're looking at a solution in Africa. And that's already built into this. It's got the usual monitoring and measurements and measuring. It is a data center in a box, exactly as the office environment was, but for ruggedized solutions. So it's right there and easily transactable. So the monitoring's there in exactly the same way. Then we have a right-sized UPS, as I'm sure you'd expect. Very interesting security. There's really cute stuff like breach notifications. There are biometric options in this. And probably the most important is the insulation there to keep it at a really even temperature, which it needs to be in these structured environments, really harsh, but most importantly, soundproofing. So think of the type of environment like military, oil rigs, really rough and harsh environments where this would be a perfect solution, plug and play, data center in a box. I'm sure you can all think of vertical applications that would be perfect for. Jason's shown this slide before. I make no apologies about showing it again. I think it's a really important slide. But what I want to cover is that box at the bottom. So what we're going to look now is looking more at those IT platforms and what APC Schneider Electric have in the portfolio to address these opportunities within those converged infrastructure solutions. We've heard about some analysts. I would also share with you the 451 group did a paper in July where they made it very clear that they saw APC Schneider as leading the field within the microdatacenter concept. So there's a very strong story there to be told. So first let's have a look at what is a converged and integrated system. Well, on the one level, it's all the things that you'd expect and you know about. It's the storage, it's the networking, it's the servers. It's probably got a management software layer over the top of it. In fact, it will definitely have. And it's usually transactable in a single SKU. You go up one level and you start to add applications, databases, middleware, all the business, the needs of the business. And you're really now looking at a fully out-of-the-box, easily deployable solution that is wholly transactable and repeatable, and a very, very strong solution for the market. Jason a little bit covered this, but I'm going to do it again because I think it's really important. So what's converged infrastructure? Again, this isn't new. My goodness, I can't believe how much reference has been made over the last 2 days to converged infrastructure, hyper-converged, and the way the market is going, you know? It's absolutely fundamental for the Internet of Everything, and you guys that are delivering cloud solutions to your customers and developing cloud applications, it's fundamental and mandatory to get behind this, as I'm sure you're aware. So a little refresher, what is it? Well, it's all of these pieces all together. It's all of these pieces all together. It's pre-designed and pre-tested by the vendor or the value-added distributor, value-added reseller in here. And it's pre-built and tested by those guys as well. So the vendor or the VAD or the VAR, easily deliverable to your customers. So taking, again, back to that simplicity, removing the complexity. But we believe, as Jason alluded to, that that's actually where our story begins. I'm sure there's none of you in here that don't know that that is quite a significant investment for any customer. This isn't a cheap option, it's something that they've made a conscious decision for. So we believe it needs that life support layer around it. Thank you, sir. So that life support layer, that is going to make that a truly well looked after and cared for investment. It needs the right power. It needs the right battery backup. That power needs to be evenly distributed across the rack and the row and in the room. It needs to be in a right environment. That environment needs to be the right temperature. It needs to be cooled at the rack level. It needs to be secure. You don't want people coming in and starting removing bits. So it needs to be secure at both the rack and also the room. It needs to have a nice housing, okay, with the right cable management and the right airflow accessories, because this is absolutely key to any converged solution that you're going to, particularly if you're going to plug and play that. And it needs management software. So around it, it needs to be able to monitor it, capacity plan it, make changes, measurements, everything in there, and preferably through a single pane of glass. And guys, how cool would it be if that could actually speak to the building management system? Eh? Everything in green is what APC by Schneider can do today. And in fact, we are the only vendor through our integrations, our technology integrations with Cisco, particularly Cisco Energy-wise, where we can take this from the physical layer through the physical infrastructure and out to the building. That is a really powerful and valuable message for the facilities manager who gets up in the morning and worries about his building and what's going on in it. And we can help him lower his costs, make his energy much more efficient, and even to a degree lower his PUE. And that's through the technology integrations we have today with Cisco. So let's have a little look at some of the converged infrastructure solutions that are out there today. Look, there are many, and they're coming at us thick and fast, as I'm sure you know. But we kind of believe that these guys have got most of the market pretty much there. So they're the market leaders. These are the ones that you'll have heard about more than anything else. And this is where we have togetherness. We have togetherness with 90% of the converged solutions that are out in the market today. So we can integrate through our technology integrations with VMware, with Microsoft, with the Cisco layer of integration, with our StructureWare suite of solutions, DCIM. We can talk to all of the software apps that run on the converged infrastructures here. And so that's really managing now the physical assets as well as the virtualized layer in pretty much most of those solutions. So let's build a picture. So take the IT platforms that we just talked about, put them at the top there. Add on the APC by Schneider physical infrastructure piece. So that's the right size UPS. It's the cooling. It's the ruggedized environment for disaster recovery now. It's the PDUs. It's distribution. It's all of those things. Then you add the software, the StructureWare suite of solutions that we add for the management layer on top of that. So now with our integrations, as I said, we manage the physical assets within that solution as well as the virtualized layer. It's the value glue. It's the data center infrastructure management suite is the value glue. And on top of that, we have a huge range of already structured assessments for you. You can take an assessment to your customer. You can right size whether he's got the right room, if it's an office environment, the right data center needs, or what he might need. And you can deliver a deliverable to the customer through the assessment. And that's yours. They're already there for you guys to take today. We've got reference designs already put there. We've got some build of materials already done, which you can tweak. Don't like some of it in there, you want to put a different UPS, you can do that. And wrapped around that, we have a fantastic configuration tool in our ISX design tool that I hope some of you use that brings in those third-party vendors as well. So you can configure a total solution with all of the other vendor elements to it to deliver to your customer. The total picture. If you add to that now, which you can, in-row cooling, you're really looking now at maximizing the effectiveness and the efficiency of the data center in the hot and cold aisle rack, and really starting to address those data center needs that are out there with the customer. And with the disaster recovery in there. So we are now able to take, as Jason alluded to as well, solutions from rack to row to room. With all of those right-sized elements that we talked about, the right power distribution, the right densities, the right cooling, and wrap around of that everything controllable through a single pane of glass. What we deliver today, ladies and gentlemen, is a truly defined, software-defined data center. So that's great, isn't it? That's all good. That's all about the hardware and software. But look, what's in it for you? Why do you care? Why would you need to worry about any of this? The reason is because it is so much value for you. You've got access through this to new applications and new customers. Okay, you can talk about facilities and how we can manage the building for customers. You can have valuable conversations with the facilities manager, bridging that from IT to OT, which isn't always the easiest bridge to cross. That differentiates you from Joe down the road who may not be able to deliver that conversation to his customer at the same level. So really valuable. And then you can wrap your managed services around it. I'm sure there's nobody in this room who doesn't actually do that. Really wrap their managed services around a good converged infrastructure and deliver that to your customer. Because that's where the margin is, and that's what this is all about. You're increasing, therefore, your revenue opportunity. Watch your revenue grow as you add your services to what is already a structured solution that's simple and standardized for your customer. And you can increase efficiency, not just your efficiency, but the efficiency of your customer. Like I said, if you can go to the facilities manager and say, actually, I can power down all those PCs that are sitting in that room, so you're not paying the electricity bill for that, and I can power them up again the next morning when those users come in. I can reduce your lights, I can turn them off in different rooms. That's what the link with EnergyWise does. That's a structured conversation with an OT manager who will care about that. Thereby leading to much more increased customer satisfaction, of course. You're reducing complexity. Again, there's that word, but you're making it simpler for the customer to make the decision, and that's what CI is all about, right? In doing that, you're reducing the cost of his solution. He doesn't need those IT resources on site. These things can be remotely managed. Go back to that solution, the retail in the States. You know, you can have these distributed by the value-added distributor and remotely install them. That's massive for the customer and very, very easy, which is why you can standardize, wholly transactable. Therefore, your time to market is reduced. Your time to value is hugely increased, and your selling cycle. You can do much more selling, many more solutions and transactions in a shorter space of time, because you're making it really easy for the customer. This is my final slide, guys. I hope you'll see that these solutions from ABC Schneider can really help you position yourself with your customers with a really great solution. Get behind the cloud, really be in the position for the Internet of Everything. We've heard so much over the last 2 days. This is the position everybody needs to be in. I hope you'll see that we can help you do that and help you make money in the process with lots of nice, satisfied customers. So with that, I'm going to thank you for your time. I hope it's been useful, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I know we're between you and lunch, so you may be wanting to hold your questions, but Matthew, can I open it up to you?
Yeah. Great. So thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jason. So we've got some time for Q&A, and the questions have already been submitted. However, I do have one. If you just maybe come closer down this way, so we can see it.
Oh, good.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. So it's down there. So I've got a couple of questions just to begin with. So the microdata-center concept.
Love that answer.
First launched in North America, I believe in July. How's the response been since the launch?
Since the launch for Microdatacenter?
Yeah.
Well, the response has been good, but this is one of the first times we're actually really delivering the Microdatacenter message, so it's still very new. But response from what we've seen from customers and clients in the market is actually more of a pull demand. People want more. So the response is there, the market is there. I mean, Jill, you're seeing here as well similar things. I think it's across the board very strong demand, but we need to do more, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's, EMEA particularly will adopt this. It's the market is moving in this direction. It is completely clear from everything we've heard over the last 2 days. And I think, to get on board with the solutions that are there within the microdata center, embracing the fact this is an emerging market, and, be ahead of the curve.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to open up the questions from the audience, and I'm going to start with the energy one. So this time last year, we were expecting energy shortages, maybe issues in Russia, the Middle East, but actually the reverse has happened. Really low oil prices. So, what's been the impact of lower energy prices on on Schneider's business?
Yeah. Do you want to lead with that? I mean.
So
for me, I mean, I lived in the Middle East for 3 years with Schneider, so I was really exposed to the energy business. For us today, yeah, we've taken a little bit of a hit there in terms of the applications we were working on. Oil and gas, as Jill mentioned and showed you some of our solutions, we still, because we've been able to be more dynamic and come up with some additional applications at the right price point, we're seeing some good business, and the funding has been routed into other segments, specifically smart city applications, infrastructure within the city, so that money is being funneled to other aspects. So that's the beautiful thing about having a massive company with a bunch of different business units. Oil and gas on one side might be having some issues, our oil and gas business unit, but that money's being diverted elsewhere and it's still coming to us, like the industrial Internet of Things. That's still something that's adamant. People want to spend on it. They need to be able to track it to see how the changes are happening in the economy. So that's really, we've been able to balance it out, and the growth's been relatively stable.
So overall, customers are still concerned about total cost of ownership in terms of from an energy perspective. That hasn't gone away.
That's more so than ever prevalent.
Yeah.
Total cost of ownership is critical.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So who do you envision being the primary stakeholder for the microdatacenters? Does the emergence of edge computing for specific applications mean broadening the conversations to lines of business?
Well, yeah, as I say, I think you've got conversations, valuable conversations now that if you didn't have before, that you can have with the facilities, the buildings manager. It's important to, he really has got some critical things. You talked about energy, you talked about, pricing and that sort of thing. It's the building, the management of the building is costing more and more. So if you can help him alleviate those costs and reduce them by, lots of clever stuff, then that's the conversation he wants to have with you. It's gone beyond the cooling now, which was also vital to him. It's all about how can you I see you've got one on PUE, how can you lower his PUE? How can you make him more cost effective in that? Because that's where he needs to go. And that's what he's waking up worrying about. So business units, yes, I think it transverses more business units than perhaps historically the channel has put themselves in the forefront of. So, and that will continue.
Okay. And sticking with that question about PUE, so
Yeah.
what do you think would be the target value in 3 years' time?
Look, Utopia's one, right? Who is it that said they had 0.5 or something absolutely ludicrous, which you can't get to? Look, everybody strives to. Microsoft said they had 1.2 some years ago. I was lucky enough to be the chair of the Green Grid for 3 years, and this was always a conversation we were having around the metrics and measurements of this. We need to get this PUE low, but the key to PUE is the journey the customer makes. That's the real thing. It's being able to measure what he does today, implementing changes as we've just discussed, those are some of them, and then measuring it afterwards. So you kind of have to start with the end in mind. Where do you want to go? What are the journey, the stakes? There's lots of metrics that can be used in standards that the Green Grid have issued that he can use to map that journey. But it's the journey that needs to be mapped to see the improvement. So there's always utopia. It's really hard, I think, for anybody to reach that, although some say they have. It's the journey and the metrics that are employed to make that journey. Does that make sense?
Yes. To add to Jill's point too, what's really important, you've got to look at the environment you're in. So we can talk about averages, and today it's still around 2, something like that, which a lot of people don't realize. But what's important is, for example, we didn't cover obviously our broad portfolio, but we've got natural free cooling and different methods to lower PUE, again, depending on the environment. So really, if we're in the Middle East or Africa, it's going to be a lot different as it appears to where we're here. So we've got to find that middle ground, that balance, and be realistic when we're putting together a solution.
So what are the kind of levels you see today? Not necessarily in the big data centers, but more in mid-market server rooms. Do people measure that sort of thing?
In mid-market, what we see generally, it's high 1s, low 2s, honestly. They fluctuate quite a bit. Yeah. And it really depends how hands-on, not hands-on in the sense I said lights out data center earlier, but how hands-on the team is in terms of designing and working, with Schneider and getting in there.
It's you're looking at an average of sort of 2.2. Anybody that's veering towards 3 is really needs to address it fairly quickly. But I would say it's around about.
And do you have tools for channel to measure that?
We do actually have some energy management tools that are on the website, but it's the measurement tools and the guidelines that the Green Grid have got out there, and they're all freely available. Okay. That are probably the key things to actually embrace, look at. It's, as I say, planning your journey, planning that journey about where you want to be, where you are today, and seeing the difference. And Microsoft have been doing that for a lot of years in their own data centers, in their customer centers, where through installing the right level of equipment, which they've done certainly across EMEA in the 5 data centers that they've got, their customer centers, they very clearly measured their PUE from day one at that point, installed all the new equipment with all of the efficiencies, and then measured it again. And the difference there has been significant. I think Microsoft are sitting around about just under the 2 at the moment. But they were up near the 3, which is huge wastage too, of obviously energy and efficiency.
Okay, so next question from the audience. How do we counter arguments from customers that their IT cannot be standardized because of specific requirements? Surely most customers are unique.
No problem. So
they are.
We see this. I mean, we see this all the time. In terms of the interesting thing about standardization is we have unique customers, but we want those unique customers to standardize within their organization. But we're constantly putting solutions together that are different. When we talk about Converge, and I'll let Jill put the final touches on that, but Converge is about standardizing and pulling together the different partners in the network and everybody to give a solution that works depending on the environment. But in terms of a data center, it's difficult to standardize across the board. You're going to have unique applications, but as long as those customers, like I mentioned earlier, Home Depot and Deutsche Bank, they've standardized across hundreds of locations, but that solution is specific to them.
Yeah.
So it's different than what we would recommend in the industry or online. So it's a standard solution, but for that customer.
Yeah, I think some of the key things that I was talking about with designing and the ability to design your own solution for the customer, that is very much driven by what the guy wants to do. If you took that example, it was clear there was 124 stores. Yeah. He just wanted to get rid of the mess that he had, and he went to his channel partner to say, help me, because I need to just roll this out the easiest way, wholly transactable. Well, that's fine. It's very clear. There will be other places, maybe hospitals, that are going to be slightly different. But because you can design that, using the tools and certainly with reference designs that you can add to, then you are in control. And it's what the customer wants, and you're in control of delivering that exactly as he wants it to where he wants it. So there's the ability to have breadth of opportunity there.
Okay.
Flexibility, that's the word I was looking for.
So,
struggling my words.
Sorry. So the next question is for you, Jill, because you touched on it on your presentation. So how does Microdatacenters help manage service providers?
Whoa, well, I mean, the managed service providers are, that's something that we're really keen to work on, and it's a discussion that I had actually yesterday, believe it or not. But it's managed service providers are a very, very integral route to market for us. They can recommend, standardize, and build what their customers are looking for, bringing all of the inherent elements together, and wrap those kind of services around it. So they really can deliver the absolute utopia for the customer with what the customer wants, be it rolled out to 124 stores or to fill into a data center room or a cloud application or a colo. So for me, I believe, and for us, I believe they have a significant part to play in our route to market, because they are the defining people that are taking our customers forward into this new age that they need to be in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would just note on that, in terms of integration, it is harder and harder today to find really solid integration companies in certain geographies. So, like to Jill's point, we're looking for that, and we're willing and ready to partner and have discussions.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of lead times are partners expecting in terms of the when they come to order microdata-center solution, or however it's done? Okay. What's the kind of the process, and what's the lead time?
Okay. Well, shall I take that?
Yeah, we could, again, for the lead times, as Jill said, and I liked it very much, the Papa Bear brand, which is prefabricated data centers coming down all the way to smart bunker. So what we've done in the new launch and new portfolio is we've tried to standardize a little more. As we said earlier, you can't standardize for everybody. So it depends on the type of a solution, but if it's a standard smart bunker or an SX, like Jill mentioned, the SX and CX, those are very standard. We usually have those as stock items, right? So we will put those into the channel. Very short time periods usually. I'd say 2 to 4 weeks for the CX or an SX, depending on the integrator. But with the bigger lines, it takes a little more time because it's an actual prefabricated data center. So you've got your full rows, racks, modular power distribution. But we're working to improve that. And lead time for those are usually 12 to 16 weeks. But again, that's something that we're working very closely with the logistics team and central teams all over the world to make sure we can meet quicker, stringent timeframes to deliver those markets. But I'll let Jill elaborate a little more in terms of the micro DC.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an office solution, so if it's a fully integrated, plug and play, out of the box, let's go tomorrow, then that can be delivered by a value-added distributor, and there are many here that can deliver just that, and are happy to do so. If you prefer to, as a value-added reseller, work directly with the vendors and pull the pieces together and deliver that because you feel, quite rightly, that the managed services you provide to your customer is where your real money is, that's great too. And that would depend, obviously, on the relationship you have with the vendor, how quickly they can get the pieces to you, and how quickly you can put that together. But if you're going the distribution route, or using distribution as a systems integrator for you, which many people are, then they will have the stock in place, and it will be how quickly they can deliver the number you want. And they can either deliver it to you or they can deliver it direct to your customer. So it's really, really depending on what you're looking for and the complexity of it.
Yes.
So I think we've got time for one more question. So we'll take the top one. So is there a danger that standardization of micro data centers will result in becoming a pure commodity sale?
A commodity sale? No. I don't see anything that is delivered with expertise built around it, which is where you guys come in, should never be a transactional product. There will be elements in it that are, but what you are delivering, yes, all right, but you're delivering a solution, and that's the key word. If that solution is for 124 stores, or it's for 8 architects' office, if it's plug and play, or if it's a data center rollout, you're providing a solution that answers the customer needs. To me, that isn't going to be a commodity. I would like to think that there is still the element. Commodity to me means that you can't make money out of it, or it becomes a piece of tin that there isn't much you can add to it. I don't see this today being that, and as we evolve this concept of micro data center and build on it, so you will build with us, I would like to think, and it will remain a solution. I couldn't cast iron guarantee that. My God, who would have said in 1989 that the PC would become a commodity? Hell, but I can't see it for the next few years. It will be a solution that you'll provide value to around.
Great, and just one final, a message, a final takeaway for the audience from today's presentation.
I hope that you, from my side, have seen that there's value in delivering this type of solution. If you're not already, I'd like you to, think about the ruggedized scenario. This is a new opportunity, maybe to a lot of you. It does open up some new customers, application and concepts, areas that you might not have thought about before, or you might have thought you can't address. Well, now you can, with a fully deployable data center in a box. But you can't blow this thing up. It's made of heavy gauge steel, for goodness sake. It's like a safe. So your customer's in really good hands if you deliver one of these, and it's here. It's made. The factory's in EMEA, in Europe even. So even better, if you want to come see it, I know a lot of you like doing that, ask. It's quite exciting to have that, that differentiator.
Great.
That's the takeaway for me.
And to Jill's point, my closing comment would just be, if you look across the scope of everybody here at Canalys, we're definitely in a very unique position in what we're doing as APC by Schneider. So I encourage you to continue to drive the business as you've been. Consider us if you haven't. If you're not working with us already, reach out to your local teams, and we have a very vast product portfolio. As you can see here, this was just a small snippet and to really whet the appetite of what we can bring to the market. So looking forward to speak and meet with you over the years, and look forward to doing great business together. So thanks for your time. Really.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.
Thanks.